Joined in 2005. I went to Iraq in 2008 and got back in 2009, and I got out. I was in the Marine Corps. I was in the Air Wing. I worked on air traffic control equipment. I was more like an electrician. When I deployed, I was actually security forces, so I worked at the FOB, or the Forward Observation Bases, which are like bases outside of bases. They're like small forward units. I worked on the wall and the towers, entry control points, which is like the gates in and out. A lot of times, people with PTS only like confide that with their doctors, so it's really not something that they tell people, because a lot of people think of it. A lot of veterans think of it as like a weakness. You know, if you have a mental health issue, like no one wants to claim that. No one wants to be like, yep. So, for me, I didn't have full post-traumatic stress. My biggest thing was emotional withdrawals. So I had a hard time connecting with others and having any sort of feeling whatsoever.
What ways work best for you for coping with this sort of thing? What do you do, like, personally? What did you do? What have you done to this?
What did I do at first, or?
Yeah, just
at
generally.
first it was alcohol, a lot of alcohol. Didn't really work though. It was just my way at the time of dealing with it. It wasn't until I got out of the military, I think late 2010 or 2011, there was a study that was going on at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and it was for vets with post-traumatic stress, and they were teaching you how to do like meditation type alternatives. And I did that, and it was actually, it worked great for me. Had great breakthroughs.
Do you think that your problems like really affected anyone that you kind of, you knew pretty close, like very well, like Miss Helton? I don't know
actually, Miss Helton and I, she caught me on my good side, I guess.
Okay.
She got me after I sought help and was more, and I wouldn't say cured, but like, was on the upside of things, the hardships. I actually had 2 relationships prior to that where they unfortunately didn't get the same result. I mean, that's almost exactly what you're asking is, yeah, they saw the negative aspects of it. Especially the girlfriend I had, right when I got back, she pretty much said I wasn't the same person, and I never understood her because I felt the same, at least I thought it was the same. But we ended up breaking up because of that difference. And yeah, everyone says the VA is flawed, and in many ways it is. Honestly, I think it's just that I don't think they were ready for the amount of people coming back. I don't know the exact troop numbers, but it's in the millions of troops that were deployed, and I just don't think they're ready for the numbers of people that are come back and the quality of care needed to treat those numbers. They just don't have it, and so I think yes, there is a subpar like quality of treatment for veterans available, and you hear about guys who they're pretty much on a waiting list to be seen, and unfortunately a lot of those guys. I just read an article last week about a guy who committed suicide while he was on that waiting list. I feel like if you would have been seen earlier, the VA's like idea of treatment is what they call shock therapy. That's what it's called. And essentially what they do is they talk with you and they make you relive like the moments that are bothering you. And so it's kind of difficult to like relive those moments, and that's their way of making you get past it, is by reliving it and getting over it. Which it's weird. You come home, things become very petty, very, the big issues that we have in America aren't even big issues. Like, I was on a foot patrol, it was Christmas morning, but I mean, it's hard to relate because they don't celebrate Christmas, there's not much Christianity over there. But for us, it was Christmas morning, and we were on a foot patrol, and we went through this village, and there was these kids out in the field. They couldn't have been 6. There's 2 kids out there. Maybe one was like 6, the other one was like 8. young, and they were by themselves. There was no parents. They were just working the fields. And like the thought occurred to me, I was like, there's probably some kid waking up today, Christmas morning, complaining that he got a red bike instead of a blue bike. You know, it's like you really take into consideration like one thing for me, sleeping became an issue while I was over there, and then especially when I came home. I guess going into it, I was always the kid, even in high school, especially in high school, I was the kid who slept all the way through class. Like, I was the kid who was always sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went over there, that's actually a big issue, because if you fall asleep while on post, or, you know, whatever, that means, you know, you're not aware of what your surroundings are, and something bad could happen, and it could be totally on you. And so I would have a lot of issues, especially when I got home, of like falling asleep, and then waking up like in a panic state, thinking like I fall asleep on post, like shit, something's gonna happen. And so, I mean, it's weird to say, like, you know, being in your 20s and afraid of the dark, but like that's kind of what it was. Like, I was afraid to fall asleep. Because I was afraid, like, you know, this, I wouldn't really call it a flashback, but it was, you know,
Yeah.
that moment between sleep and awake where you're not quite sure where you are. I'd always wake up panicked. Luckily, that's when I got out.
Yeah.
I didn't, besides the whole sleep thing and waking up and freaking out, I didn't really notice anything else. Like, when you talk about, like, you know, if you look at the 4 symptoms of PTSD, or what they, you know, they call symptoms, emotional numbness is like a hard one to pin down, because when you're in that state of like numbness, you don't like look at yourself and be like, oh, I'm emotionally numb. Like, it's just, you just think like this is it, like this is what life is. Or even when you have those other things, you're like, oh, life sucks, just deal with it. So I didn't actually know a lot of this till years later, when I started like getting past it and then reflecting on when I didn't have it.